All right, back on Morning Line. Thanks for joining us. We're talking, as you see on the screen there, the excuse me, transgender. We both have a scratchy throat. Transgender bathroom bill. With us, Marissa Richmond. She's with the Tennessee Transgender Political Coalition. They're against this legislation in the House side being proposed by Representative Susan Lynn, who was not able to join us this morning. As I mentioned at the beginning of the show, and we can take some more of your calls. If you're on hold, stay there. We'll get you in a moment. 737-7587. Other states, maybe a dozen or so, are looking at similar legislation. South Dakota had one that it went even further, I think, but the governor vetoed this recently.
Yes, Governor, I want to say Dalgard is his name. He vetoed it. He actually took the time to meet with transgender South Dakotans, learn their stories. He said, yeah, we shouldn't be doing this. He vetoed the bill, and then that veto was sustained by the House of Representatives by a very large margin. I'd also like to point out we're in California where they put everything on the ballot. There have been 2 attempts to put bathroom language on the ballot, and the voters said, we don't need this. They couldn't even get the signatures in a state where everything goes on the ballot. And so we just don't need to do this. They're trying all these tactics. They've had a $5,000 penalty in Indiana. Kentucky's bill was a $2,500 penalty. In Texas, it was a $2,000 bounty to turn in a trans person. So instead of spending money on schools or hospitals or whatever infrastructure, they wanted to spend money on trying to harass and bully trans people. I'd like to point out, when I spoke to a group at Vanderbilt recently, they said, so if we go to Texas, can we turn each other in and pay our way from school?
Jeez. See, that's what's going to come to, isn't it? Yeah. By the way, and you've said if this does pass in Tennessee, and we don't know what will happen, but if it did, there would be lawsuits.
Oh, absolutely. There's well, for starters, Representative Lynn is claiming that there would be no lawsuits, and the reality is there would be. The parents of trans students have already been filing lawsuits. We've had 2.
This will be constitutional based on discrimination?
Well, Title IX, well, for starters, Title IX of the Equal Opportunity in Education Act in 1972, which most people here apply to women's sports. What we see is that the federal courts are now saying that sex discrimination language in Title IX does include transgender people. So we've already had federal rulings, federal district court rulings in Illinois and California, and we're seeing more lawsuits. There's one moving through the courts in Virginia, a federal case also based on Title IX. And so there are parents in Tennessee, undoubtedly, and Michael from P.3 would probably be able to clarify this more directly. But there are parents throughout Tennessee who are saying that, if this passes, we will file a lawsuit in federal court. We will file on Title IX, and they will win.
Okay, and again, as an earlier caller stated, I think if this were to pass too, I'm not sure how you'd really adequately be able to enforce it as it
Correct.
is. But let's see. We'll get back to the phone lines. We got some lines open. If you want to jump in, questions, comments. Let's see what Cindy thinks. Good morning, Cindy.
Good morning, Nick.
Hey.
Anyway, I wanted to make a statement before I ask her a question.
Okay.
Okay, I have worked with tons of gays and tons of lesbians. All of them were very, very nice. I worked with one that was a morphodite. She was born with both parts, but, she didn't have all the male parts, and she looked really like a beautiful woman, and she went through 21 years of therapy to decide who she really was. Okay, because of the laws. But you can clearly see she didn't have the other anatomy parts. Okay, she just had some of it. But anyway, as far as all the gay men I knew, I even knew one that called himself Mother Tom, very famous comedian. I also knew Heavenly, who was a very famous stripper out of Nashville, the most beautiful woman you'd ever seen in your life, which was a male who did transform in a woman. But my goodness, she had,
What is your point, though, Cindy? Go ahead. That's good. That's your statement. But what did you want to? Is there a point?
I wanted to ask her.
Yeah, go ahead.
Does she still want to have relationships with a man, or does she want a relationship with a woman?
Okay, and it's up to you how you want to answer, but I think it's a fair, whether you want to answer personally or not, some people are going to bring this up and wonder, is this about sexuality? And However you want to answer that, but I think a lot of people wonder, okay, so what? How does this?
Well, just in general, I will just say that that gender identity and sexual orientation are different. Some people are attracted to same-gender people. Some people are not. Of course, we do not view gender as a binary; it's a spectrum, and so people are attracted to different people, different personality types across those points on the spectrum,
regardless of physicality, right? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I've been in relationships my whole life, in and out of relationships. I'm not in a relationship now, and I don't really care.
Okay. All right. That's the answer on that. But again, this sexuality is not the issue here.
No.
It is not the issue here. It's gender identity.
Correct.
And what you feel inside in your heart.
Correct.
All right. Let's go to May. May, good morning. Is that May on one?
Hello?
Hi, May. Go ahead.
Well, what I want to say is, when my children were little, I had a son and a little girl. And, of course, I only had one girl, and the rest of them were boys. She had 5 brothers. So it was really, really hard for her to not see the makeup of a male. And when she was real, real little, she would see her little brother without clothes, and she wanted to know what that was and why she didn't have one.
Sure.
And so I tried to explain it to her the best I could. But what I want to say is Adam and Eve did not know they were in sin until the clothes were took off. And that's when they begin to sin. But what I want to say is, too, more importantly, you have these crazies that's out there. What scares me is the fact that they could slip in a bathroom, and then you have this horrific crime in a girl's bathroom, or a male's bathroom, and you would go, oh my God. But you see, we don't have any of these things happening until everybody pushes their way in because they're different. They don't want to accept that, but go on and have the surgery, then maybe you can use the bathrooms without a problem. But I'm just saying, it's just another topic to get some crazies out there doing crazy things. I just hate to see it happen.
And I hear what you're saying there. I brought that up earlier, but the bottom line is those crazies are going to do it now anyway, right? If they're going to run in, I don't see how a transgender bathroom is going to motivate a crazy one way or the other more, whether that person's going to go into a bathroom and assault someone.
Correct. And I think it was Washington State that actually tried to do what May suggested, that actually had a genitalia requirement, and that clearly would violate the Fourth Amendment of unreasonable searches and seizures.
How are you going to check? You're going to have someone at the door saying, okay, you want to go in here? Drop your pants, let me see what you got.
Right.
Come on.
Yeah, the Tennessee bill says birth certificates, and nobody that I know carries a birth certificate with them.
And those
anyway.
can be forged anyway.
But in these other states, yeah, you would have someone literally conduct an underwear search and make you pull your pants down or lift your skirt before you would be allowed up. I mean, there would be an incredible uproar if that were to occur.
Made me think about how she was describing her daughter with her, other siblings that were boys, and of course the gender identity comes out one way or the other. But she had to learn as she grew. Now, your belief is you were born this way, correct?
Correct.
That's the whole. Is it genetic? How would you describe it?
Actually, there have been studies. There have been studies in Europe showing that it is in the brain. It's just like being left-handed. It's obviously a recessive trait, but it's there. It's genetic. It's born into people, and that at some point, as you grow up, you start using one hand over the other, and transgender people, much like gay and lesbian people, start to realize that they're different.
And again, that's, I guarantee you, a confusion for some. And we had that caller earlier. Transgender people are not necessarily gay or lesbian people.
Correct.
As you said, sexuality is binary. And you look
at defined as binary.
Defined as binary, and so it doesn't necessarily mean that you can't decide what that person is going to be attracted to based on their gender.
Right. So when you had earlier asked about Caitlyn Jenner, you know, I have to admit, I don't recall what she said about her sexuality, but there are some trans people, some trans women attracted to men, some trans women attracted to women, some trans men are attracted to men, some trans men are attracted to women, and some, you know, identify just across the spectrum of sexualities. So there is no direct link between gender identity and sexual orientation.
All right, listen, we're going to take a break on that note. We'll come back. I've got an interesting question that just popped in my head. I bet you get a lot of those. All right, we'll take a break. We'll be back with more right after this. Stay with us.